Welcome back to another edition of Innovator Insights here at NEMIC. My name is Andrew Williamson. I'm the Business and Engagement Coordinator here at the New England Medical Innovation Center. I'm joined today by Ben Mitchell, who works at MMID as an innovation consultant.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I work at MMID Product Development in Providence, Rhode Island, down the road here. And the ID in MMID stands for Integral Development, and we help people develop products that protect, improve, save lives. And innovation consultant's a little vague. I'm really client relationships, sales, business development.
I'm interested. So what was sort of your journey into maybe getting into that role?
I grew up here in Rhode Island. I knew I was going to stay in Rhode Island. I was looking for my next role. And I did health plan sales at Virgin Pulse, which health plans are pretty complicated, and those sales are typically pretty complicated. So I was looking for another sales, business development role. I found MMID through a friend at Rhode Island Commerce, and here I am, I guess.
I know that you took our MedTech leadership program last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so for anyone that's familiar with NEMIC and the work that we do, we focus on medical device innovation,
Mm-hmm.
but more broadly, health technology, I think. And so thinking about somebody like yourself, how did you, aside from the connection, what appealed to you about MedTech leadership and said like, okay, I'm going to take this course? Yeah,
so really since I started working, I've done something outside of work to continue my education, an online class, something. I'm currently taking a class through IDOU for design collaboration. Before NEMIC, I actually took the Harvard Business School Online Core program, which is like a pre-MBA program.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a sense for what these courses tend to include, the structure of them, what kind of tools you get to use, and how much they cost. And when I dove into the MedTech leadership program after I sort of discovered NEMIC, I realized it was full of so much. And as a Rhode Islander, it was free. And for me, it was really a no-brainer. I knew that I was going to be here from October to March 2 years ago. And it's Mondays and Saturday mornings. And I like to meet people. So really, when I was learning about that part of the MedTech leadership course, I got excited and I signed up.
That's interesting. So tell me about maybe what you maybe thought the MedTech leadership program was before going into it, and then taking it and saying, okay, this is now, I have a better grip on what it is. Or was there any correlation between those two things?
It was really different. So I thought it would be this really highly technical, maybe it's not for me, medical device crash course, sort of class and environment. There's so many different courses. You get to sort of cover everything from you have an idea to launching the product and pricing throughout the MedTech leadership course. But I really thought it was this highly specialized thing that I would be sort of this obscure person in the cohort. It'd be engineering students from Brown and people that work at Johnson & Johnson, and I was very wrong. People who have sort of just a fuzzy idea in their head that they wanted to think about commercializing were here. People who just wanted to meet people and take the course and better understand what the MedTech space is in Rhode Island, which is me, were part of the class. There were students, there were parents who are coming back to the workforce after having kids. So for me, it was really eye-opening. You get to meet a lot of people, and you'd be surprised you don't need a technical background to come and take the MedTech leadership course at all. I think that's great because there could be, I think it's logical to look at the curriculum and look at the description and wonder, oh, maybe this is for somebody with a highly specialized set of skills. But then having gone through it to realize, yes, I mean, that's also part of it, but it's not a requirement, right? That you can kind of go through and really get a lot of it on the industry side of things, not strictly on the technical side of things. Yeah.
And so taking that into account, what were your biggest takeaways from the program?
You go really broad, and you sort of get to pick how deep you want to go in every one of these buckets. It could be quality assurance. It could be commercial viability. If you're someone who's ever had a medical product idea, like why don't they have this that's out there? The MedTech leadership course can really quickly teach you how to tackle, who pays for it, who buys it, who cares. Maybe you're interested in the regulatory side or the legal side, the pricing strategy side. So for me, there's a couple of those buckets that I cared most about, and I got to decide how deep I went. There was no obligation, there was no exams. But I think the number one takeaway, and Aidan Petrie actually told me this, he's a big believer in entanglement. I met so many people through the MedTech leadership course. I still engage with NEMIC almost every other week. And people who I met through the MedTech leadership course introduced me to other people who are mentors, friends, investors that I know in the area. So I think really the biggest takeaway for me is the network.
I think that's critical to highlight, and I'm glad that you mentioned that. I think the networking piece and our greater network is an integral pillar of part of who NEMIC is and the work that we do, and arguably a huge component of MedTech leadership program. It does sort of culminate with our pitch night and graduation, where there's typically hundreds of people attending from all different parts of the sector, industry professionals, service providers, entrepreneurs, startup folk. And so when all those people converge, I think that's a huge, maybe lesser indicated benefit of the course, because it is focused heavily on the curriculum. But it's great to hear that was part of it, because I think that is a huge part of it. So thinking that you've had sort of this path which took you through different places, including MTLP and NEMIC, and now MMID. How did you feel as though MedTech leadership sort of played any role in preparing you for MMID, or I'm curious if there's any relation there?
I think it definitely played a role. MMID is a 33-year-old company now. We're international, so we have offices across Germany and the Netherlands and the United States. And so culturally, we're European and we're American, which is really fun. But there's so many people you need to meet here. It takes a village. So for me, I think it definitely helped from a network perspective. I sent a client over to an investor I met through MedTech leadership last week. And I think also from the sort of the breadth that we talked about perspective, I learned a lot in my role at MMID. And I'd have to say that, yeah, the MedTech leadership course helped me close some of those gaps. And actually, we have colleagues at MMID who are also taking the MedTech leadership. I think they're in the current cohort. And they're more specialized than me, because I'm business development, client relationship sales. They're mechanical engineers, educated in Cambridge and at Brown University and RISD and URI. So they're highly specialized. And so they go really deep into one of those buckets, product development or quality. And then NEMIC, the MedTech leadership program for them, really helped them sort of branch out from breadth and understand our clients better.
Yeah.
So I think it's helped people on the client side and on the engineering side at MMID.
That's so interesting. So, okay, so thinking about an organization or a company like MMID, and I've heard one of the things we always envisioned MedTech leadership program was as career preparation, technical skills, and preparing folks, whatever that may be on the other side of it. And to your point, there's a breadth there. But so, do you think that there would be utility to people, various folks within an organization, to take MedTech leadership program as it pertains to their specific role?
I think so. I think when you get trained to do something highly technical and specialized, you sort of dive in really deep somewhere, and you can sort of miss things. And the MedTech leadership program really is a bunch of Mondays and Saturdays where you get a huge crash course and all the other stuff it takes to run a MedTech leadership company, grow it, sell it, exit, et cetera. So I think if you're a specialist in any one of those buckets, you're a regulatory person, you're a manufacturing person, you have an idea, or you're in sales and you want to better support and understand your clients, yeah, I'd say the MedTech leadership program will help.
Yeah, I think, is it fair to say that there's some sort of utility to folks going through and almost as not an onboarding tool, but as maybe it's career development is the right term, but yeah. In other words, being able to have this resource that's available, different folks from different walks of life, but kind of converging at a point to prepare them for their career or to add value to their skill set to a career. Would that be a fair assessment?
I would say so. Actually, during some employee evaluations I had for myself, I mentioned MedTech leadership as part of my onboarding. It helped. There's so much that happens here in Rhode Island, you might be surprised. There's so much research just around Alzheimer's and dementia here in Rhode Island. And I think when people think of innovation, they think of Boston, they think of San Francisco. There's so much here in Rhode Island. And part of that onboarding is getting connected to all those people and understanding how they do business. And I was originally exposed to that here.
Cool. You're sort of one of those compelling people to talk to with really interesting insights and things to say. And you've had a really, I think, interesting path along your way to where you are at MMID now. Are there any takeaways for somebody who's interested in maybe getting into a MedTech type of career, regardless of maybe what the role may be?
Yeah, I think my tip is take the MedTech leadership class. Only because you're gonna rapidly meet a ton of people, and you're gonna find out really quickly who's in your space, who's in the spaces that you're interested in. And you're also gonna get a lot of exposures. And I frankly think this is something you guys undersell as part of the class. You get a lot of exposure to real life stories. Everything from something that you need a surgery to get into the body, all the way to apps, all the way to new kinds of simple inhalers. You rapidly learn about successes, failures, what happened to real companies. So yeah, I'd say if you want really rapid exposure to people in the MedTech space in the area, whether it's technical or not, and you want to sort of get a deep dive of real life, real company stories of how they grew, exited, sold, et cetera. Yeah, I'd say take this class because it has all of that.
Awesome. That's fantastic, and thank you for mentioning that. So Ben Mitchell, it's been fabulous. Thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us today. For those of you watching who would like more information, of course, you can visit us at nemic.org or join our newsletter. That is where we do all of our announcements and pertinent updates, which would be nemic.org/news.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.